Chapter 69. Kyler pushed through the fog in a rush. In a moment that seemed out of joint, as if time didn't work the same way here, he was back in the indistinct room, once again facing the lupine, gray-haired man with his hair pure white at one temple. 2 days isn't going to cut it, Kyler said. I need to go back now. Impertinence last time, demands this time, the man said. The man cocked his head as if listening, and Kyler was again aware of the others. They were invisible when Kyler looked directly at them, but definitely there. Could he see them a little better this time? Yes, yes, the wolf said to a voice Kyler couldn't hear. Who are they? Kyler asked. Immortality is lonely, Kyler. Madness need not be. Madness? Say hello to the grand company of my imagination, gleaned from those profound souls I have known over the years. Not ghosts, just facsimils, I'm afraid. The lupine man nodded his head again toward one of them and chuckled. If they're not real, why are you talking to them and not to me? Kyler asked. He was still angry, and this time he wasn't going to take the man's chiding or his mysteries. I need your help now. You'll find such urgency hard to hold on to as the centuries pass. It'll be real hard if Gareth Ursel takes my immortality. The wolf tinted his fingers. Poor Gareth. He believes himself a god. It will be his undoing, as it was mine. And another thing, Kyler said, I want my arm back. I noticed you managed to lose that. You actually pulled the Kikari out of every cell of the arm you lost. Was that intentional? Well, I didn't want the Ferali to have it. A wise thought, but a poor choice. Do you remember what they call your Kikari? The Devourer, Kyler said. So? The wolf pursed his lips, waited. You're joking, Kyler said. He felt sick. Afraid not. You didn't have to fight. What the Kikari did while coating your sword, it could have done while coating your body. You could have just walked through the Ferali. Just like that? Just like that. Because you cut your arm off instead and pulled the Kikari out of it first, your arm won't grow back. Sorry. I do hope you can fight with your left hand. To hell with you. Send me back or Ursel wins. The man gave him a toothy grin, as if being damned amused him. Sending you back 2 days early will cost me, his eyes flicked up, 3 years and 27 days of my life. Sort of like the rich stealing from the poor, wouldn't you say, immortal? He held up his burn-knotted hand before Kyler could curse him. I'll send you back if you make an oath to me. There's a sword. It's called Kurach, and I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that it's intensely desired by any number of powerful factions. You know the town of Taurus Bend? Taurus Bend? That's the one. Get the sword and take it there. Go into the wood, past the oak grove, stop 40 or 50 paces from the edge of the old forest, and throw Kurach in. Is that where you live? Kyler asked. Oh, no, the man said, but something else does. Something that will guard Kurach from the world of man. If you do this, I will send you back now. When you deliver the sword, I'll make your arm grow back. Who are you? Kyler asked. One of the good guys, at least as much as I can be. His golden eyes danced. But I want you to understand something Achalis never did. I'm not a man. He paused, grinning, and Kyler did indeed wonder how much humanity was behind those lupine eyes. To cross lightly. I figured. Are you in? That's odd, the God King said, coming to stand over Kyler's corpse. Where's the Kikari? I sense. It's in his body? Yes, Vi said, unable to stop herself. Fascinating. I don't suppose you know what all it does. To her horror, Vi found herself answering. It hadn't been a direct question, so she veered as hard as she could. No, I know it makes him invisible. She tried to say made, but she couldn't force the past tense into the sentence. She hoped he hadn't noticed. Well, regardless, your lover will have to wait. I have a massacre to attend. Vi screamed and grabbed Kyler's sword. Gareth watched her curiously. The sword swung in an arch and stopped. She stopped it herself. She couldn't do it. Amazing, isn't it? He said. Funny thing is, I learned compulsion from one of your southern mating rituals, ringing, but you people completely misunderstood its true power. Anyway, feel free to watch the battle and stop grunting, dear. It's unbecoming. Abruptly, his eyes went vacant. Vi tried to move the sword, but it was impossible. The compulsion was undeniable. As the witches released the Ferali, Vi sat on the steps before the throne to watch, but even that terrible spectacle couldn't hold her attention. She should have given up long ago. All her fighting was a farce. She'd done everything the God King had wanted her to do. She'd killed Jarl, and she'd killed Kyler. In the years to come, she'd doubtless kill hundreds more. Thousands, it wouldn't matter. No one else could ever mean what Jarl and Kyler had meant to her. Jarl, her only friend, dead by her hand. Kyler, a man who had somehow stirred, what, passion? Maybe just warmth in a cold, dead heart. A man who could have never, who could have been more. She hated every man she'd ever known. It was man's nature to kill, to destroy, to tear down. The woman was the giver of life, the nurturer, and yet Kyler. He stood athwart her suppositions like a colossus. Kyler, the legendary wet boy who should have been the very quintessence of destruction, had saved a little girl, adopted her, saved a woman, saved nobles who didn't deserve saving, and tried to leave the bitter business. Would have left it, too, if not for me. If not for Vi, Kyler would be in Carnarvon, leading some sort of daylight life that Vi couldn't even imagine. And what was it with Elaine? Kyler could have had any woman he wanted, and he'd chosen a girl covered with scars. In her experience, men went for the hottest bitch they could get their cock in. If the bitch was hot, they didn't care that she was a bitch. Kyler wasn't like that. Vi had an awful flash of intuition. She saw Elaine, a woman she'd never met, as her twin and opposite. Elaine had scars an inch deep, but beneath that she was all beauty and grace and love. Vi was all ugliness except for the thin veil of her skin. Kyler's love was a mystery no more. The man who could see past Jarl's murder could easily see past a few scars. Of course he loved Elaine, or had, before Vi killed him. Kyler had said he would come back, but he wouldn't come back. The God King had won. Vi pulled her knife out of Kyler's back and rolled him over. His eyes were open, blank, dead. She closed those accusing eyes, pulled his head into her lap, and turned to watch the God King massacre Cenaria's last hope.